Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Dakota, and this is my corner on the internet where I just talk about all things related to knitting and yarn. I haven't filmed a podcast episode in quite a while. I have so much to share. I have 2 finished objects, I have some works in progress, lots of yarn acquisitions, and actually I just got some packages today, so I thought it would be fun to open up the mail together, and I'll kind of do a first impression, which kind of scares me because what if I hate it and I'm like, I have to send this back, which hopefully is not the case. Hopefully I love it. But yeah, I figured that might be fun. So that's what we're gonna do today. It currently is storming outside really bad. It's very windy and rainy, and there's cars going by, and the tires are just loud on the rain. So I'm sorry if you can hear that. I actually am looking into buying a camera and maybe some audio stuff for these podcasts. So if you know anything, if you have more knowledge than I do about this, please leave some comments for me, because there's nothing wrong with filming on my laptop, but I just am desiring for the quality to be a little bit better. So I would love to look into it, and I know there are people out there that know way more than I do. So please let me know, and hopefully the audio isn't totally horrible. Grab a tea or a coffee and or your knitting project if you like to knit. I know I personally like to knit while I'm watching these videos, so let's talk about everything that has been going on since last time. So the first thing, tradition as always, is what I'm wearing. I have finally finished my Moby sweater. I started working on this in, I think, the early spring-ish. Yeah, early spring, in the beginning of the year. But then once it got too warm out, I kind of abandoned it, and I was like, I'll just pick this back up. And I picked it back up back in August, and I finished it at the very end of August. So it was definitely a long haul project, but I'm so happy to have it finished, and it's so warm and cozy. There are many things that I learned doing this, many mistakes I made, and we'll talk about it. But first, let's talk about the yarn I used. So I actually have it here, the leftover. I used Double Sunday by Skarn in the color Banana, and I paired it with this mohair. It's by Lang, and it's Lang yarn, and it's called their Lux mohair, something like that. And this is like the most luxe mohair I've ever touched. It's very expensive, but I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get it. I couldn't find a color that I thought would pair as nicely, because I didn't want to use a white. I really wanted like that soft yellow banana color. So yeah, the Double Sunday is in the color Banana, and the mohair is in the color Buttercream. So that's a cute pairing, I thought. And they really did pair very nicely together. This is the color that it created. Depending on the light, it kind of changes. Like when light is directly shining on the sweater, it still looks yellow, but it just looks more of like a light yellow. And then if I'm in like a darker lighting, it looks more like yellow. But I'm really happy with the color, and I really enjoyed working with these yarns together. There was nothing I can say that was a bad experience about working with them. Definitely the most luxurious mohair I've ever used. I wouldn't say, like, it's still a little bit itchy, but the drape that this sweater has, I don't know, I guess I can forgive that. And it's really not that bad. I wear a t-shirt under it, and it's fine. I'm not like uncomfortable or itchy. I would definitely knit with these yarns again. Beautiful color. I love the color yellow, so I don't know if it's everyone's cup of tea, but I'm so happy to have a yellow sweater. Okay, and then, so that's the yarn I used, and now the pattern. So the most complicated pattern I would say that I've done before this was probably the Ingrid Pullover by Petite. By the way, did I even mention this is my Moby sweater by Petite? I forget that, like, people that maybe aren't familiar with the knitting community, I guess, might not know who Petite is or, like, her pattern. So I apologize. Sometimes I'm just, like, so consumed with, like, knitting media that I forget that some people might not have heard of it. So yeah, this is by Petite, and so is the Ingrid Pullover. And prior to this sweater, that was probably the most, like, involved pattern I've done. I really enjoyed knitting it, and I thought the chart was very easy to follow. When it came to this, I didn't think that I was having a hard time, but then once I joined the front and back, because you work the back and then you'll do, like, the front and left shoulder, and then you'll join in the round. Once you have, like, the front and back yoke done, I realized I had messed up, and I had made the back too long, and then somewhere in here I messed up right around the neckline. Like, you can see, oh, it's so weird on camera, I, like, can't follow my hands, but right around the collar I really messed it up, and it's probably harder to tell on camera, but yeah, I did something wrong. But at that point, I don't know why, I was just like, it'll be fine, like, it's gonna work out, I'm not gonna rip it back. And yeah, I ended up not ripping it back, and I was on the fence about it because I have this thing, and I've talked about it in the past, where, like, my mistakes are my mistakes, and, you know, I don't want to rip it back because, you know, it's part of what makes it handmade by me, and if it's really not that bad, then I'm not gonna rip it back. But yeah, I don't know, like, the collar around here, it doesn't bother me too much, so whatever, and I can't really see it unless I'm, like, looking down, and since I've worn this, no one has been able to tell. So unless you've knit the pattern or have seen it, I think that's really the only way you'll tell. So yeah, there was that, and then when I joined in the round, I was reading the chart wrong. So I ended up creating, like, I'm sure you maybe can see here, it's like this kind of stark line. But really, like, that's okay. I don't know. It doesn't bother me that much. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah, I was only torn because the yarn was so expensive that part of me does wish that I ripped back. But I think back then, like back in the spring, I really had more of, like, an impatient relationship with knitting, and I've been trying to work on that. So, yeah, that's my reasoning for not ripping back. And other than that, I mean, let me see. I'll stand up and maybe you can see. The back is just longer than the front, but it really doesn't bother me. It's nothing, like, it doesn't pucker in the back or anything. I don't know if it's even, maybe it's supposed to be like that. I don't know, but yeah, those are my mistakes that I have made with this sweater. And in turn, my sleeves ended up being really big because the armholes were very large. And you know what? It's okay. I worked with it, and what I ended up doing was I just kind of did a balloon sleeve type of deal. So I did, like, slow increases down the arm, and then once I got to when I wanted to start my cuff, I just increased every stitch, or I decreased every stitch except for along the cable, because I didn't want the cable to kind of puff in. So yeah, and after blocking, it really, I don't know, it's just kind of like a big comfy sweater, and that's totally okay with me. I think the cables look absolutely beautiful. This double moss stitch looks beautiful, and the drape to this is so nice, and the softness is so nice. Yeah, I do wish that my neckline was cleaner, and I put some elastic in here, but it's kind of twisted inside, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to fix that, but I think the neck the actual neckband sits very nicely. One thing that I'm so proud of in this sweater is how beautiful my Italian bind off turned out. I'll stand up for a second. I don't know if you can see, but I'm so proud of my bind off. I feel like every time I think I did it on the sleeves too. I feel like every time I do a bind off, it does not turn out this nice. So I'm so happy with my bind off. And it makes me want to keep practicing and just continue to improve it. So yeah, the pattern, I definitely wouldn't say it's like beginner friendly. I would say that to be patient with it, to really read what it's saying, to measure, to maybe put in some lifelines while you're knitting, just so that if you do make mistakes, you won't have to rip the whole thing back. But yeah, overall, I did really enjoy knitting this. I love seeing all the texture work up and how it ends up, how the pattern ends up working out. I think how I blocked it really kind of saved this this sweater, because before I blocked it, it was very like scrunched up and not great, I guess, but that's okay. I love it now, and that's all that matters. And would I knit it again? I don't think so. Not because there's anything I have against the pattern. I don't know. I just think I would want to try some other patterned or textured sweaters. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Some other specifics. I knit this on a 4mm needle, using my Hygge needles, the wooden needles, and I thought that paired very nicely with the wool and mohair. I think that's it. I did not gauge swatch, which was a mistake, because Petite knit, like, all of her stuff ends up being so big on me, and I think it's because I'm a continental knitter, and I just, like, am very loose. And I'll talk about this once I mention one of my WIPS, but I'm just learning that I'm a very loose knitter. So yeah, that's all for my Moby sweater. If you have any questions about it, maybe I can answer. Please leave them in the comments. So next I have another finished object. Actually, I have two. I'm wearing some on my feet right now, but I'll talk about my other big finished object. And I finished this in the summer, actually. There might be some loose ends, so don't judge me. I think it goes this way. So this is my Kaarina tee, or Kaarina tee. I'm honestly not sure how to pronounce it. It's by Sari, Nordland. I don't know how to make this look flattering. Yeah, this is my Kaarina tee. Here's the sleeves. It's super cute. The color is beautiful. The cabling, everything, like the pattern is just beautiful. I'll show you the back too. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is the Kaarina tee by Sari Nordland. I think I knit this in size, I don't remember. I normally knit in a size smaller medium, or like 2 or 3, if that makes any sense to anyone listening. So yeah, I knit a size 2 or 3 or smaller medium. I knit this, so the pattern calls for knitting for olive pure silk held double, but I didn't want to knit with the silk. I don't know, I just, at that, now I'm more willing to try it, but I was a little afraid to try it because this is such a textured pattern, and I was scared that my mistakes would just like completely shine through. I don't have many mistakes in this, but I don't know, I was just kind of nervous, so I ended up deciding to knit it with the cotton merino, and this is my first time knitting with the cotton merino, and I held it double. I think I have, yeah, I just had a little bit left over. I'll show you. This is all I had left over. This is in the colorway Dark Ochre, I'm pretty sure. It's stunning. So yeah, I held it double, and I had such a nice experience knitting with this yarn. I thought it was just wonderful. The yarn wasn't splitty. It didn't hurt my hands to knit with 2 strands held together. I'm pretty sure I still ended up knitting it on the recommended needle size because I didn't do a gauge swatch, and I'll talk about that again later. But yeah, I did not knit a gauge swatch, so I'm happy that it ended up turning out fitting me. But yeah, knitting with this yarn was just such a wonderful experience, and I would definitely knit with it again. Honestly, I did not wear this much this summer. I feel like it is appropriate for hotter weather, but I think it's best for spring, in my personal opinion, when it's like 70 degrees, even maybe like 65. I think you could go up to like 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that converts to Celsius, but I think, yeah, around like 65 to 80 degrees, this would be a comfortable fabric. But again, I held it double, so holding it single would probably lend to a airy fabric, something more comfortable in hotter weather. I don't know what to say about this. The pattern was lovely. It took quite a while to knit this. For a t-shirt, this took me a while. Eventually, I was able to commit to memory the pattern and like what stitches I had to do next, but it took quite a while. I think I was maybe like halfway down the body when I finally was able to like not have to read the chart anymore. I don't think I made any modifications. I did a standard bind off at the bottom. The neck is the only thing that really bothers me. I think I'm gonna put an elastic in it, or like elastic thread, but it just sits very wide on me and I don't love that. Another thing is, as much as I love this color, in person, I personally just don't think that it suits my skin tone very well, unfortunately. I think with my hair it looks nice, but I don't know, just something about it on my skin, something feels off. But yeah, I did the neck and tubular bind off, and I just like don't love how it looks. I feel like it turned out a little bit messy looking. I don't know. It's nothing that would stop me from wanting to wear it, but it's just something to think about. And then the sleeves, I think I did make a modification. So the sleeves, you're supposed to knit and then do like double folded, I believe, like inward, something like that, to create the cuff on the sleeve. But I did that and I just didn't like how it looked. It was kind of puffing out on the edge here, and I really didn't like the look of that. So I just ended up not doing that, and I did a standard bind off, I think. Yeah, I did a standard bind off, and yeah, like with this yarn, I just enjoy how the standard bind off looks a lot more than the tubular bind off. Sorry for my loose ends. Yeah, other than that, I don't think there's much to say about this. Would I knit it again? I don't think so. I would knit with this yarn again, but I don't think I would knit this pattern again. It's so involved, and it took me all summer. Yeah, it's beautiful, but I just don't think I would knit it again. It's like a once and done type of thing. Not to discourage you from knitting this. I think you'd have a lot of fun knitting it, as I did, but that's that. Yeah, I guess I'll leave that and talk about my last finished object, which is actually on my feet right now, so let me just take it off. I'll just show you the one sock. It's a pair of socks, and I had been working on these since last winter, and I just put them on the holder, and finally I was like, back in August, I was just in the mood to like try to finish as much as I can that was already on my needles. So I was like, I'm getting these socks done, and I did. So this is the sock. They're a pair, obviously. They have been getting so much wear. These are probably my most worn socks right now. So the pattern is called the Lights on Main Socks by Hygge. I think that's how you say it. Wonderful pattern. It features like these little, they kind of look like twinkling lights is how I would describe them. It's kind of like these little like slip stitches that end up looking like twinkling lights. I think the heel was just a standard like regular heel, but I could be wrong because it's been so long and I don't remember if I modified the pattern. I'm sorry. But yeah, I love this yarn. It's by Fiber Dye Works. I got it in Vermont when I went on a solo trip out there, and I got this, and I actually got this they're by the same brand. So if you ever want to look them up, they're called Fiber Stash Dye Works. So I got the same yarn but in purple. I don't remember what the gray colorway is called, but I have the rest of it here. So this is it in cake form. But this yarn really made me fall in love with tweed. At this time, I really did not like gray, but the color gray has really like grown on me. And yeah, now I just absolutely love these socks, and I love this yarn. The quality is so nice. It's very sturdy, and I love the tweed. It's just like little black and tan tweedy bits. So yeah, not much to say about them either. I've been wearing them just around the house. I wore them today in my Doc Marten boots, and they didn't slip down, which a lot of my socks do. So yeah, I think with the purple, I'd really like to make a pair of like ribbed socks. Yeah, I really like this yarn, and I would be interested to try some of their other yarn. I think they're based in Vermont, maybe in Burlington, I'm not sure, but one of my favorite places ever is Burlington, Vermont. So yeah, these socks have gotten so much wear, and I hope that they last a very long time. So yeah, those are my finished objects. I have 3 of them, and I'm very happy. But now we're gonna move on to works in progress. So I have 3. We'll talk about, since I already mentioned my socks, I'll just talk about this sock that I'm working on. Okay, it doesn't look like much. It just looks like a long tube right now. But that's because it's mostly ribbing, so it kind of like cinches in on itself. I'll have to buy some sock blockers, I think, when I want to block these out. But if I kind of separate the rib, you can see the pattern. It's so beautiful. And then I did the heel flap, and now I'm just working down the foot. Okay, so the pattern is the Hibernal socks. I think that is what it's called. I'll leave it all down in the description box, by the way, or I'll just pop the patterns up on the screen as I talk about them. It's by Summer Lee, and I love this so much. I decided to go with a longer cuff, more than I usually do. I think I did a whole 20 rounds, I'm pretty sure. And then the cable pattern, so it features mock cables and then ribbing, and it is so easy to memorize. Maybe by like just a few rows in, I memorized it, and I don't need the chart anymore. So I just kept going. I'm like, I've never knit a long leg sock, but today's the day, and I'm gonna just keep going with it. And I'm so excited to see how these look when they're done. But yeah, to anyone wondering, the pattern is so easy to memorize, and it's just beautiful. So I'll leave it linked down below. And yeah, I actually, once I got to the length on the leg that I desired, I was camping, and I didn't have the pattern on me, and I didn't have Wi-Fi or internet connection to look up how the designer wrote the pattern for the heel flap. So I ended up just doing a standard slip stitch heel flap because that's what I knew by memory. And I don't know actually what the pattern calls for, but I just did a standard one and I think it looks great. So yeah, now like I'm just working the pattern on the top half of the foot and the rest is just stockinette. The yarn I'm using, I'm so happy and excited about. This is Isinger, I'm pretty sure is how you say it, sock yarn. And I have dreamt about this sock yarn since I went to Portugal, because when I visited Retrosaria yarn store in Lisbon, I touched it and I saw it and I was obsessed with it. So the online store that I order from, it's called Wool & Company. They sell it. They have it on their shop. So I saw it and I was like, this is my chance. And this fall, I'm just really drawn to like these dark green colors. It just reminds me of like the forest. I think the color is actually called pine. So yeah, I love it. And I'm knitting I always knit a 56 stitch cast on. It's just what fits my feet the best. Every time I knit a 64 stitch cast on, it ends up being too big for my foot and my ankle. And for reference, I'm a size like 7.5 US, woman's size. So yeah, I love the mock cables. I love this yarn. It's like so sturdy, and I think it's gonna keep my feet really warm this winter. I love that the ribbing and the mock cables just kind of give it that extra like fluff to it. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really nice and warm once it gets pretty cold out. So yeah, have you ever knit this pattern? If you have, please let me know. I hear through the knitting algorithm that Summerlee has some of the best sock patterns, so I don't know if that's true, but I can say this is one of my favorite sock patterns I've knitted, and I'm excited to try more of her patterns. So that's that. I'll move on to my sweater that I'm working on. I'm so excited because I think I'm gonna be done with it soon. Let me just make sure I don't lose any stitches. Okay. So this is my dad sweater by Emily Curtis. I already have a sleeve done and the whole body's done. Now I'm just working on the other sleeve, the left sleeve, but my body's all done, my bind off is done, my ribbing's done. I still have to do the neck, and actually I had already done the neck. I did 2x2 rib. The pattern calls for 1x1. That's one of the modifications that I've made to it. I just feel like with this texture of yarn, I was feeling more of a 2x2 rib, so I ended up going with 2x2. And I had knit the neck, but I didn't double fold because at that time I was just like, I think I like just like the flat, like not double folded collar. But then I bound off in tubular bind off, and it just looked like not great. I didn't like it. The body I bound off just like a regular 2x2 rib, and I think it looks clean. Like I don't think it looks bad by any means. I really wanted to do the tubular bind off or Italian bind off, but I don't know, with this yarn, like while I was binding off the neck, the yarn just like was so sticky. That's one thing I'll talk about when I talk about this yarn. It was just very sticky, and I had a really hard time. Like it was always catching. Sorry, because I like cut it out, I still have like some pieces that are just kind of needing to be pulled out. So yeah, I just didn't really like how the tubular bind off looked with the neck, so I decided to rip it out, and I'm gonna still do the 2x2 rib, but I'm gonna do double folded collar, and I think I'll have plenty of yarn left to do it. So the yarn that I'm using is Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and if you don't know this pattern, the dad sweater by Emily Curtis is inspired by the designer's own relationship with her dad, and how she just wanted to design a sweater that was reminiscent of her dad, if I'm not mistaken. And I love that idea. My dad passed away quite a few years ago, back in 2018, and I have a few of his sweaters, but I was just very charmed by the meaning behind the sweater, and I thought it was appropriate for me to knit one since, the history I have with my own dad. So yeah, I wanted to pick a color that reminded me of him, but also still being true to something that I would wear. And the color that comes to mind when I think of my dad is gray, because he had the same gray sweater, or not sweater, same gray t-shirt that he would wear multiple times a week. And so yeah, but that color gray I don't really love. So when I was looking for kind of gray color palettes that I like, I stumbled upon this, and I would describe this as a very warm brown gray. Very earthy, I think. And yeah, the color description on the website, I think, describes it as campfire ash. I don't know if I mentioned that the colorway is in sweatshirt, but yeah, the way that they describe it is campfire ash. And this yarn isn't quite a tweed. I would describe this yarn, it's very raw feeling, but it's also very bouncy and squishy. It's also very stretchy when it's worked up. It doesn't have full-on tweed, but there are bits of stuff. I don't know, bits of fiber that it's definitely not just a solid color. There are bits of black and white and gray that work together to make this color. The yarn is very tightly spun, so I've had no issues with splitting. I've actually really enjoyed it. There are pieces of raw material in the yarn, and I don't know what it is. It kind of looks like hay or wood chips. That's the only way I can describe it, which is fine. I don't mind. It just kind of honestly is more authentic to the experience of knitting with wool, I think. So yeah, this has been wonderful. It does hurt my hands a little bit. If I don't have moisturized hands, it can kind of scratch up my hands. But as I've been working with it, I've just kind of gotten used to it. I actually really enjoy working with it now. The yarn, it's very, as I can describe, sticky. It loves to stick to itself, which is why I think it will make a very durable garment. Again, it's very tightly spun. It likes to stick together. So yeah, I think it will make a very durable garment. I also feel like this yarn would be perfect for felting, which kind of worries me that this sweater will start to pill and kind of felt a little bit with friction, but we'll see how it goes. That's something I can maybe review a year from now, as I wear it a lot. Every time I've tried this on, I think that it's going to irritate my skin, and it hasn't. So that gives me a lot of hope that I'll get a lot of wear out of this sweater. So yeah, that's the yarn. I really like it. I hope that in the end, as a garment, I end up liking it, because I would love to knit with this yarn again. And honestly, if it's not this yarn, I would like to try some other Brooklyn tweed yarns. If you've tried Brooklyn tweed, please leave me your favorite yarn of theirs down below so I can check out some of their other yarns. Okay, so I believe I'm knitting the sweater in the size 2, the second size. I had started to knit this sweater on the recommended needle size, which I think is a 4. And as I was knitting it, it's not that I just wasn't quite feeling the gauge. I'm something doesn't feel right here. It feels kind of loose. So after I got probably done, I think I was done with the back yoke, and I was ready to start casting on for the front right and left shoulder, I measured my gauge, and it was way too big. It was huge. So I was like, you know what, Dakota? I know that you typically don't care about these things, but I think you should start caring. Something convicted me, and I was like, I need to start caring, because I spend a lot of money on yarn, and I don't know, like, maybe I'm just like at a point in my knitting journey where I'm thinking more about like the longevity of my garments and the enjoyability of my garments. And just how they fit too. Like, I don't know, something just hit me. I was like, you need to pull this back and start over. So I jumped down to 3mm needles, and this is a worsted weight yarn, so it's quite thick, but I knitted it and I liked the gauge a lot more. It was much more compact, and I measured my gauge and it was still too big, but I was like, you know what, it's closer, it's not like totally off like it was before, and I don't think that my hands can handle going down any more than a 3mm needle with a worsted weight yarn. Like, so I was like, just do the 3 and stick with the size 2. I think it will be fine. And it's been fine, so that's good. I mean, after blocking, I guess I'll see, but also, can you just see, like, up here, the difference in texture from, like, when I was purling and knitting to, like, just in the round? I really hope that blocks out. Yeah, so I think it'll be fine. I tried it on, like, just with this sleeve done, and it fit very nicely, but I just won't stretch it out too much when I block it. But knitting this on 3mm needles has, my hands, my wrists, they have just been aching. And now I'm knitting the sleeves on my little shorty needles. Something about this pattern that is so interesting to me is that they're short row shaping in the sleeves, and I've never done that before. I've actually really enjoyed doing it because it just keeps the sleeve, like, interesting to me. I would say, like, the beginning of the sleeve, like, does kind of feel like it's dragging on a little bit, at least to me, but once I got, like, done with the main increases, it was just like, it was over before I knew it. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say about my dad's sweater. I'm really enjoying knitting this, and I'm so excited to have it done. So yeah, yay, I'm so happy. I really do like the double or the 2x2 rib with this yarn opposed to the 1x1. I'm glad I went with that for this sweater. Alright, so I'll stop talking about that, and I have one more work in progress, and this will not take that long because, I don't know, it's just like an accessory. So I think I talked about this in my last video. I'm knitting a Sofie shawl, I'm pretty sure. Not the small one, the big one. I'm pretty sure that's the shawl. And I'm getting pretty close to being halfway done. I would really like to have this done by the time it's cold enough to need to wear this. It's kind of all crinkly and ugly, but this is it. The drape is so beautiful. I can't wait to block this and, like, get all the crinkles out. Yeah, I'm about halfway done, almost. I still have a few increases I have to do. But this is the yarn I'm using. I bought 2 balls of the, sorry, the wind is so loud. I hope it's not, like, cutting my audio out. I bought 2 balls of this. It is the, I actually have the tag here. It's the Cascade Yarns Eco Alpaca 100% undyed baby alpaca, and it's in the color Cafe au lait. So yes, I really am enjoying this yarn. It's so soft. Like, I cannot wait to wrap this around my whole head, basically. I'm knitting it on the recommended needle size, which is 5mm needles, I think. Let me check. 4.5, I lied. It's 4.5. Maybe it's recommended 5, but I'm doing 4.5. Yeah, this is where it's at right now. Like, if it was halfway done, it's getting pretty long. Ooh, I'm so excited. Yes. Sorry, I'm obnoxious. Yeah, there's not much to say. I've knit a Sofie scarf before, and I liked it, but I just wanted something, like, in a neutral color, that I can pair with like any of my jackets and just a staple that I can wear. The drape is beautiful. I can't even imagine like after it's blocked what this will look like. The gauge is quite loose. Like it's pretty loose, but I think the fiber will bloom a bit. And plus, like when it's wrapped around my neck, I don't think that that's gonna matter. It'll still be pretty warm. So yeah, I would really like to make a hat or mittens that I can wear that like are close to this color. Maybe I'll just like end up making a whole set, but the goal is to have like a beanie, scarf, and mitten, like my go-to for the winter. And usually I'll knit this like very late at night. Like I just make sure that I get at least like 2 or 3 increases in before I go to bed. But it's not something that I work on like like my sweater takes priority. My socks are taking priority, even though I knit my socks usually on my lunch break at work. This is like it's right before bed. Let me get some increases in before I go to bed. So that's been nice. And yeah, there's not much I have to say about this. I really love the color, and alpaca yarn is just so soft. I love it so much. I want to knit a whole sweater in alpaca, but I'm nervous too, I think, because I don't want it to like fall apart, if that makes sense. If you've ever knit like a whole sweater with alpaca, please let me know your experience. Okay, so that's it for my works in progress. Now let's get on to acquisitions. I'm so excited because I just recently got a package of yarn for my next project that I talked about in my fall knitting plans, and yeah, and then my yarn mail that I'll show you. So first I have this yarn. Actually, I have 2. Okay, so first I'll talk about this. I was just scrolling on Instagram, as one does, and I came across this yarn company. They're called Craft Me Not Yarn Company, and they're from Pennsylvania, and that's where I'm from, even though I live in New Jersey. So yeah, I think it wasn't even this yarn that they had posted about. It was something else, but I was intrigued, so I checked out their shop, and I saw this, and I was like, that looks like something I would like. Let me just get it. Being irresponsible and just buying things without even thinking about what I was going to do with them. But it's just a sock yarn, so I feel like I'll just knit socks if I can't think of anything else. So this is their sock yarn in the colorway Whitetail Trail. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 2-ply, 400 yards, 100 grams. And it has all these beautiful speckles in it. The main colors I see are like white base with like blues and this like rustic like copper color, and then yeah, these specks of like darker gray or black. I love their logo. It's so cute. So yeah, that's that. I don't know what to say about this, except that it's beautiful and I'm excited to knit with it. I don't know when I'll get around to knitting with it. It might not be until the spring, but I'm very happy to have it in my collection. And then with that, I bought another Instagram yarn. I think this is like a very small indie dyer. I don't know if this was her first launch or not, but I wanted to show some support, so I bought some yarn. The company is called Priska Fiber Co., and I got her sock or fingering weight yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, 462 yards, and it's 4-ply. And the colorway is in London Fog. And it's a white base with beautiful grays and this like very neutral, cool brown. I love it. It's cute. And I also got some stitch markers too. It's very interesting because like I can't imagine these caked up and knit up into socks. So I'm very excited to see how they end up working up. I think I might knit these up first before I end up knitting this one. So yeah, that's that. Some more sock yarn that I have. But now, okay, so many moons ago, last year for my birthday, I really wanted, it's always been a dream to knit with Woolfolk yarn, and I did last year and I loved it. But yeah, Woolfolk yarn is something that I follow them pretty closely. I really enjoy their yarn. My local yarn store sells a ton of their yarn, so every time I go in there, I'm touching it. It's so soft. So there's a pattern that I've been wanting to knit by them for so long. I mentioned it in my fall knitting plans video, and it's the, I don't remember the name of the cardigan, but it's a cardigan. I'll pop up a picture, and I love the look of it so much that I'm like, I'm just gonna get the exact yarn. I know that I like knitting with Woolfolk yarn, so I think that it'll be a good choice to get it. So yeah, I got it, and this is it. It's so cute. I actually caked one up too, so you can see like the fiber. I would say it reminds me of boucle, but it's not. I'll read to you what it is. So this is the tag. This is, the yarn is called Tage or Taj, like this. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it is 70% Ovis, 21 Ultimate Merino, and 30% mohair. I don't know what that means, but it's very, it's not like super soft. It is, but it's also like textured. It feels really soft when it's worked up or like caked up. So I'm excited to see what it's like worked up. But yeah, this is cake form and this is hank form. So yeah, I'm really excited to knit my cardigan with it. I'm more of a monogamous knitter. Like, I get stressed out when I have too many projects. So typically I'll just have like one main project, and then I'll have some other little things like socks or mittens or hats or scarves, things like that. But so I've been holding off. I got this mail like quite a few weeks ago, but I've been holding off until I'm like almost done with my sleeve on my dad's sweater, and then I will cast this on, or I'm going to cast on another sweater with the yarn that I just got in the mail. So either way, honestly, I might break my monogamous knitting rule and cast them both on at the same time, because I feel like this cardigan is something I just want to get it done by spring. I'm not like in a super rush, whereas in this other sweater, it is something that I would like to have done before it gets really cold. So yeah, here's my Woolfolk yarn. I have a whole bag of it, so I think it will be plenty to knit this cardigan. So there's that, and I think, yeah, that's it. But now I have yarn mail, so let's talk about that. Okay, so here is my package. I order my yarn from, most of my yarn I order from this company called Wool and Company. They're great. They hold, if you're in the US, they carry so many different yarns. So I would recommend them, and they ship pretty quickly. I ordered this, I think, on Monday, and today's Saturday. So let's open it together. Okay, so they caked it up for me, which is really nice, because I feel like with my dad's sweater and this, my Woolfolk yarn, I have caked it up myself, and I was like, I'll just let someone else cake it up for me. Okay, so yay. Okay, it's beautiful, actually. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. I was scared I wasn't gonna like it. This is so beautiful. It's so bad, like, sometimes when I'm like looking back on this footage, I'm like, wow, yarn makes me so happy. Like, why does nothing else? Well, that's a lie. There are some other things that make me this happy, but I just like, I can't believe like how much joy literally yarn brings me. Anyway, so this is beautiful. Wow. I got 5 of them, and I hope it will be enough. These are really big cakes, so did I get 5 or 6? Yeah, I got 5. If it's not, I'll just order some more. So, oh my gosh, I'm so happy. And tell you what it is. So here's the yarn. I'll just let you stare at the beautifulness. Okay, so this is the West Yorkshire Spinners fleece 100% British wool blue-faced Leicester. I think for short people call this BFL. I'm pretty sure. It's a DK weight yarn, and this is in the color Forest. It's freaking beautiful. Yeah, in 100 grams you get 246 yards. So I think that's just a standard DK weight yarn. It's from Britain. So that's really exciting. I've actually knit with West Yorkshire Spinners before, and it was an okay experience. I think it was more the pattern that I didn't like. But this is my first time knitting with BFL yarn, and I know that people have said it's like very shiny, and it is. Wow. This is so cool. So the pattern I'm knitting with this, I actually didn't talk about this in my fall knitting plans video because I found this after, but it is the Lastlong Pullover, and it is by, oh gosh, I don't want to butcher her name. I'll pop it up on the screen because I would not dare to do that. Yeah, so I loved the green colorway that the one of the samples was knit on, but yeah, I one of the recommended yarns actually was this yarn, so I was like, okay, let me look at their colorway, and I was so torn between this and this other color. It was more of like a lighter yellowy green, and I was just worried that I would be picking a color that wasn't actually something I would wear. So that's going back to just like me being intentional about the longevity of my garments and how much I'm gonna wear them, because I actually have quite a few garments I've knit since starting knitting, and I don't wear them. So I've just tried to be more intentional, knitting the gauge swatch, doing the things I don't want to do when I'm spending so much money on yarn. So I ended up going with this color, and it's so pretty. It's very soft. It's soft with like a little bit of a toothy feel, but not much. Like, wow, the wind is really loud. It's definitely softer than like the Brooklyn Tweed Shelter yarn, like so much more soft. So I would say maybe close to like the Double Sunday a little bit. But yeah, the pullover I'm going to be making is knit in half fisherman's rib, which I've never done before. I know it's going to take me quite a while, but it's a challenge I'm ready for, and I'm prioritizing knitting this over my cardigan just because I'm really craving to have that big neck, the mock neck. I just feel like it's more sustainable for the winter time coming up. It's already getting quite cold. Like, the next few days are going to be 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite cold compared to it just being 90 degrees a few weeks ago. So yeah, that's this. I don't know what else to say, but I'm really excited to start knitting with this. And of course, I post project updates, I post yarn mail, I post just random stuff on my Instagram. So if you're interested, I'll leave my Instagram listed down below. All right, we're already like an hour in, and I have one more thing to show you, and this is really special. So the story behind this is I have a coworker who is going on a family leave because her sister's very ill right now with cancer, and this person is very stoic. They are very strong, and for the first time I had seen them break down over the stress that they're going through over this situation. So I know that they love Studio Ghibli, as do I, but yeah, so I knew this fact about them, and there is a yarn dyer out there, and her name is Big Little Yarn Co. on Instagram. Her name is Mel, and she makes really cute yarn, one of which she has like a whole yarn club surrounded by, or like inspired by Studio Ghibli. And unfortunately I'm not a part of the yarn club, but I had seen that she had dyed these yarns, and I had reached out to her and told her what's going on with my coworker and how I would really like to knit her a pair of socks before she leaves for her family leave, which is October 5th. So she was so kind to send it to me, and I just got it, and it's so cool because it came from Japan. So I kind of want to like save this, like post the mail order. But anyway, let's open it. These are gonna be for my coworker. I don't think she will ever find this. She will ever find this podcast. So, okay, so we have in here, a very nice note. She says, "Hi Dakota, hope your friend likes this colorway. Sending her all the best, happy knitting. Love, Mel." It's so cute. Okay, I'm gushing now. Okay, so, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Okay, wow. I'm kind of like sad. I gotta join this yarn club. I didn't need another reason to spend more money on yarn, but it's just so precious. Okay, so what a cute little tag. So this is her trusty sock. It's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, fingering weight, hand dyed in Japan, and the colorway is called the First Encounter. And this is inspired by My Neighbor Totoro, I'm pretty sure. Wow, it's so pretty. I think that she'll love this. Either way, the sentimentality of it, I think she will enjoy. So this means I kind of have to put my socks on hold because it's already September 23rd, and I want to make sure that I get this to her before she goes away. So, yeah, I guess if any of you pray out there, send her some prayers, and hopefully just think of her. And I'll let you guys know how she likes the socks, and maybe I'll post a photo of them on my Instagram. Or yeah, at least take a photo so that in next podcast I can show you what this yarn worked up to be. So yeah, that's it. I did have some yarn that I'll just do like an honorable mention that I bought over the summer that I don't have any plans for right now. But it's just some cotton yarn, cotton linen yarn by Juniper Moon Farms. It's her Zoe, or their Zoe soft cotton linen blend. And yeah, I don't have any plans for these yarns. I only have 2 skeins, but we'll talk about this in the spring probably. Okay, so that's it. Wow, there was so much to talk about. I'm definitely just gonna end it here. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Until next time, happy knitting. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing, liking the video, and please leave a comment because I love to talk to you guys. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!